What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Don Calamity, back with another video. So today I want to talk about these demons and these witches and how we're gonna have to be more assertive. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that everybody would like to be sold a comfortable time, but it's not gonna be as comfortable as you think it's gonna be in these next coming months. Remember, I was saying that the Lord had brought to my attention, right? And when I say the Lord brought to my attention, I'm talking about I actually heard his voice. So I can hear him sometimes. And it's very strong. And the fact that he won't let up on the message, whatever it is that he's got in my head, it just keeps spinning over and over and over again until I literally put it out there somewhere, anywhere. I got the love of Christ, so I have the love of spreading the gospel as well. But at the same time, I do hear from the Lord, and he definitely prepares me for certain things that I feel like it's a need for me to prepare the people for as well. So, when he was telling me that Calamity begins in February, I was looking up the word. I found tribulation and judgment and this, that, and the third, right? So I would like to go ahead and assume, okay, that the calamity is his judgment. He is pouring judgment soon. We all know that. But those are the words that I guess he decided to use when he was speaking to me in my spirit. He used the word calamity. In this calamity, he's given me dreams before, and I've been able to see things. I've been able to see, the chaos that breaks out. I'm able to see the people who are able to fight back, because if you're sitting there believing that you just got to stay stuck in your word, I'm going to tell you something right now. Practice your Second Amendment rights right now. Jesus told his disciples to sell their cloak and buy a sword. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we can talk all that humble stuff all we want, but at the same time, there's a rumble for us. And maybe not everybody was called to fight, but I definitely know that he's called me 22 years ago for a battle. Okay. And it's not a spiritual battle where I'm just battling in prayer. Now, dog, we was going to do that anyway. Every person who lived on this earth that was trying to walk with Christ was going to serve a spiritual battle. That's a given. That's for everybody. But sometimes he has a physical battle prepared for some. And I just got to let you know, I'm one of them. So when I hear all that spiritual talk, that we're going to be in this spiritual war, and it's like, dog, make it make sense, bro. Make it make sense. People getting killed out here every day. Make it make sense. Spiritual war. What are you talking about? When that war shows up at your front door, what are you going to do? I want to be one of the ones out here to prepare y'all to prepare yourselves physically. Okay. Spiritually is one thing. Okay. But when it comes to defending yourself, defending your household, defending your generation of people. Okay. And then there's sometimes when he calls us to go to war. He causes Israelites to go to war. I mean, let's go back to, and I hate that I got to keep saying it because sometimes I kind of chill out. I fall back a little bit and I start doing, research. I start, listening to the word and other preachers and stuff like that. I'm like, man, I kind of got to turn this off. I kind of got to turn it off. And it did say that a lot of his people is going to perish for the lack of knowledge. But what knowledge could that be? Possibly, right? Okay. We know that we're getting ready to go into a warfare. We know that, right? It's going to be part spiritual, but it's also going to be part physical as well. I don't want y'all to get it confused. I want you to understand that the Lord, he will protect you, but he will protect you first with his knowledge. He's given you the knowledge. He's giving you the word so you can read over it, get yourself knowledgeable. So therefore you can protect yourself. Okay. Like a safety material data sheet, right? That sheet was written in specific words, but it's meant for protection. Now, if you don't read it, you won't understand it. You won't have the knowledge of it. And then when certain things come down the line, you won't be able to protect yourself. Okay. So I want to let you know that I'm one of the ones that's here to let you know, strap up, Doug. Get the strap. We getting ready to go to war, like a real one, Doug. So I know that y'all hear this, that, and the third, and you going to church, and a lot of these messages, they seem to be diluted because they're not giving you the other part of the scriptures, where I'm giving you the scriptures where it tells you to wake up the mighty men of war and prepare the Gentiles for war. That's at these times that's coming up. Why would he say that? Why would those words be there if we're not meant to go to a physical battle? We're not preparing the Gentiles for a spiritual battle, my friend. We were going into the last days. You look around you and you see a lot of stuff happening. There's already a lot of things happening. And it's moving just that much more closer to home. I know a lot of people would love to think that, there would take place of a rapture and he would just cause you to disappear out of this chaos that is getting ready to happen. But it's not. Because if you think so, then you need to study yourself approved and you need to find those scriptures and then present it to everybody else. But you have not seen nor heard of that. You haven't seen it and you haven't heard of it, right? So what are you going to do? First of all, you're going to have to become a little bit more stoic in these days. You're going to have to practice on being assertive. And I'm talking to the special people. This is what I want to call the special people. The special people. The ones who are always afraid of you being who you actually were. Sometimes where you go to, say, even a fast food restaurant, right? And it's your turn to place an order, right? And you're in public, so there's people around, so, the tone is a little higher. So now you got to use a certain tone to make your order, right? And that certain tone coming from you, it's almost like they're offended by it. They're offended by the tone that's actually you. So what these special people have been doing is they've been deluding themselves, to be acknowledged by others because you didn't want to make them, let's say, worrisome, or, you didn't want to offend them in certain ways because of the way that you talk, the way that you speak. Don't you understand what I'm saying? So we done put on this quote unquote white people voice to speak to everybody publicly, but that's not who you is. The reason that they were doing that is because they were trying to oppress your vocalism. They were trying to oppress you speaking vocally because it shows characteristics of who you actually are. Some people have a very demanding sound in their voice. Some people have a very powerful voice, such as myself. And those things are utilized for certain situations to when you speak and say, there's a fire, people just get up and they really just start running automatically. Versus if it was a little old lady, there's a fire, there's a fire. Everybody like, what's going on? Why are you questioning so much? Because you didn't hear that power. So through our years, and I want to say a lot of people had turned off who they actually are years ago. 10, 15, 20 years ago. And you've been practicing this new person, to come off softer, to come off just a little lighter for their understanding and for their well-being. But mind you, they don't respect none of that because nowadays they're trying to play like they are them special people, if you know what I'm talking about. We ain't going to let them play on our name like that. We're not going to allow them to play with our position. We're not going to allow them to play with the authority that God has given us. When God puts certain things into you, it's meant for you to use it. And if he gave you certain characteristics, you're going to use that as well. That's all I can do. Otherwise, I'm going to get up here and I'm going to be fake. And whether I was right or if I was wrong, I'm bringing you me 100. And I'm going to tell you 100 what I heard. I'm going to tell you, how I feel like I should go about certain things. I'm not going to give you things that's just, I feel like it's my perspective at all times. I'm going to go over it over and over and over and say, look, man, there is no other way that you can come from your perspective when the words are clearly there. Simple text. When it tells you to wake up the mighty men and prepare the Gentiles for war. What war? The war of taking Babylon back, man. So we got several things that's happening here. Let me just put it 100 for you, right? We got number one, which a lot of people is forgetting about. We're supposed to be taking Babylon back. We got number two, there's supposed to be a so-called rapture and people supposed to disappear and all this, that, and the third. We got three, we're reigning with Christ for 1,000 years. We got 4 and 5. Oh, it's the battle of Armageddon, but actually it's the actual apocalypse. See, the battle of Armageddon does not come until the end of the 1,000 years. And I want to read that as a matter of fact, because that's in Revelation 20. So if you want to go to Revelation 20 with me, if not, it's cool. You can just go over it whenever you are comfortable, right? But I'm going to bring this word out to you, right? Let me say, Revelation 20:2 says, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Let me repeat that, because a lot of people want to continue to think that the devil or Satan is a snake. Satan is not a snake, y'all. All right. And it speaks of this dragon, the great dragon, this old serpent, this dragon. It speaks of it many times in this Bible. I can pull it up and tell you how many times it actually speaks of the dragon. Satan is a dragon. But see, a lot of people, they have a hard time believing certain things because it's not what they're used to hearing. It's not on your understanding level. None of this is on our understanding level. That's why we got to walk in the spirit to be able to be enlightened, and it can manifest inside of you what it is that the Lord is trying to say and trying to show you. Okay. So Revelations 22 says, it's 20:2. And he laid a hold of the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years and cast him into the bottomless pit. Who does that? If we go to Revelations 20 verses 1, which I should have started. That's why we're getting ready to go back now. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key to the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. Who? An angel. Okay. So an angel came down from heaven having a key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand to do what? And he laid hold of the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. An angel did this and bound him for 1,000 years. Okay. So I want y'all to understand that there's many things that's taking place in this. It wasn't God that did it. It wasn't just Christ himself, which the angel had the power of Christ, obviously. Do you understand when it talks to the keys? Like when I tell you the keys to the universe, Jesus went down to take the keys from Satan. Do you understand what that is? That's the keys to the universe, man. Now I understand what I've been saying this whole time too. So just think about it. The key to bind you up, right? To be bound in the bottomless pit, right? That was the great chain that he had in his hand. So he had the keys. The angel did. Only person that gives out the keys to this universe is Christ himself. Christ himself. The same way he gave Jesus the keys. You see? Jesus didn't have the keys before, but he had them once he died, and before he went resurrected. He ended up getting the keys through his death. Don't you understand? So who gave Jesus the keys? Christ did. And that's why I want to keep telling y'all about Christ, because a lot of people keep getting it confused, and you want to constantly keep saying that Christ is Jesus. You got Christ and you got Jesus Christ. Christ is the Holy Spirit of God. I don't want to have to keep going over that, but I see that it doesn't stick to nobody. It really doesn't. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's where a lot of people are going to perish for the lack of knowledge. Because you were supposed to be protected by Christ. You were supposed to have the keys if you wanted to last this 1,000 years even. But since you don't want it, it ain't for you. So it said, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. So therefore, there's an angel shutting Satan down, the dragon, the great dragon, into a bottomless pit and set a seal on it that he can't deceive the nations no more until the 1,000 years are fulfilled. What 1,000 years? The 1,000 years that we reign with Christ, the supper of the Lamb. You see what I'm saying? So he's getting ready to be cast, so he won't be able to deceive the nations no more. As of now, Satan is still deceiving the nations. Oh, it's not. Let's run back to 19 then. Revelations 19. Right? Okay. So it says, Revelation 19:1 says, after these things I heard a great voice of much people in heaven saying, Hallelujah, salvation and glory and honor and power unto the Lord our God. For the true righteous are his judgments, for he hath judged a great whore, which did corrupt the earth with her fornication, and hath avenged his blood of his servants at her hand. Okay? So basically, he corrupted the earth with her fornication. Okay? Who did? Satan did. That's who did the corruption. That's who did the deceiving. And remember, there was a couple of people where it said that he had found the blood of the saints and all this, that, and the third. That was, in many of the deaths. Revelations 19:9 says, And he saith unto me, right blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said unto me, these are the true sayings of God. And I fell to worship him. And he said unto me, see that thou doest not. I am a fellow servant and thy brethren that have the same testimony as Jesus. Right? For the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. Okay? And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True in righteousness, and he doth judge and make war. His eyes were a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew, but he himself. So y'all still talking about Jesus coming to do all this work, but the person that's coming and judging and making war got eyes of flaming fire, a head with many crowns, but y'all don't know his name? Y'all act like you don't even know him at all. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name was called the Word of God. And that could be anybody. How? Anybody that the word that God chooses that he want to put his word into. Not only the word that he can bring you the full understanding of what the text that's already been here that y'all act like y'all understand, but they can actually hear his word to fulfill these messages and fulfill the prophecy, because the prophecy has to be fulfilled. And it's not just in the actions that's coming out. It's in the rest of the prophetic word of God. Oh no? Well, then how is it that he's going to tell you how to move? I'm getting ready to do this again. But before I do that and bring this message along one more time, and I'm going to keep bringing this message because this is what he wanted me to put out there, and I had to take it down because I had intertwined it with my testimony and I didn't feel too comfortable about that. All right, here we go. So the angel that put the Satan in the bottomless pit and shut him up for 1,000 years. That's the 1,000 years of the supper of the Lamb, the ones that are reigning with Christ. We out of video real quick, but I'm getting ready to go ahead and read this message again. This one is, I will send to the kings of the earth a great terror. There will be no rest in thee. I will make if a nation fall by thy nation, I will rise a nation against thee. Many shall call by my name. I will give no presence in thee. For evil and wickedness shall overcome them, and it shall take thee. For with me I bestow you, and shall no terror come amongst you. Look forth to the sign in heaven, that ye shall see my works. For the battle is yet with thee. I will uphold my hand of garment, that you shall withstand in my armor, and I will prepare a place before you in the presence of your enemies. See thou not looketh away from my protection, and that you may not be distracted by others. For they too shall come in my name. For ye are my servants, and I am the Lord your God. Do not fear, nor be afraid, for I am with you. I will send judgments to all ends of the earth, but you shall stand in the midst of my protection. For in my spirit you shall be set free. All that I provide for you is with me, and with me I shall be your provider. Thou shalt make no sacrifice in thy brother, and causeth him to fall by my sword, that in mine words you shall abide. Be led in the spirit of Christ, for it is my word that is with you. For the hand of God is on you, and I will not cast judgments upon you. Do not make rulers your God, for it is I who conduct that I will uphold. Do not bow to any man before thee, neither thou shalt you make them idols. But it is I, the Lord thy God, that has given you comfort at a time of distress. In your abominations I shall not forsaken, and I will not turn away my hand at wrath. And it will come to pass that in these days 2 or more shall say, let us pray, but there shall be no prayer in them. For they too shall be cast amongst my judgment, and they shall perish. It is my judgment that is at hand, and I shall see no works. Therefore mine eyes shall not look away as those who have looked away upon thine eyes, where thou hast caused me to remember their days when thou hast said, I have no God, and I serve none. Now thou shalt see if the days that I take my staff, and I shall punish them with torment and no mercy. And they shall wander their days in darkness, and it shall consume them forever. For my terror has not been pulled away from thee, and mine garment shall not be lifted upon him. For all that they have lived and has caused my bride to be cut out, and of mine own purpose I shall destroy them. Now that is a word from God. That's exactly what I heard. And like I said, the prophecy has not been fulfilled because it ain't finished being spoken of. He's still speaking to his prophets. He's still speaking to his apostles. Therefore, you can be led by the word as it said you would. But it already seems like it's so much complications that you guys don't understand the actual word and text that's already been placed in front of you, right? So now he's speaking through the people who ask him, Lord, please speak to me. Speak to me in my spirit. Regardless if we want it for ourselves, he's going to give us something that could be prepared for the nations as it speaks here, right? Okay, so when we're talking about these days that are coming up, you're going to have to realize who is giving you the comfort in the time of distress, but you're going to have to pray your way through this. But like I said, you're going to also have to be more stoic. You're going to have to be more stoic, and you're going to have to be more assertive on how you're speaking to these individuals, these people, right? They don't seem to be no longer people anymore. So we're dealing with devils, okay? Are you going to man up or are you going to man down? You're going to have to man up. So now is the time to bring that characteristic back that you always was afraid that they were afraid of. And that was just you simply being you. But now you got these devils trying to portray themselves as if they are you, or they're the ones with the authority, and they're the ones that hold the power of their words. But they don't hold any power, because the moment you look at them eye to eye and you give them you, and they don't see no games with that, now it's ready for them to turn away. Now they have nothing to say. Now they're lacking that ambition of that authority that they were portraying themselves to have. We can no longer let these people constantly get away with more and more and more. If you continue to let them go and you continue to let them understand that you don't know what the hell you're talking about or what the hell you reading out of that book, you don't know how far they willing to go. They like, oh, cool, good. They ain't really reading it the whole way they supposed to be anyway. We got them right where we want them. That means they'll put you to death. It'll be the death of you, physically, the death of you. Because when God said, my people perish for the lack of knowledge, he ain't just talking about spiritually. And he is talking in the midst of that war, that mighty war that Isaiah speaks of. So there's going to be a war going on, but somebody going to be perishing, God's people perishing for the lack of knowledge in the midst of a war. The same war he told you to prepare the Gentiles for. But nah, y'all ain't want to do that. Nah, y'all wanted to prepare everybody else for something else, a spiritual battle. A spiritual battle when you got physical death taking place amongst you, and you will be led to your physical death as well, because you will perish for the lack of knowledge. You didn't want to hear when Jesus said, sell your cloak and buy a sword. You didn't want to understand that you was going to have to rock out with a sword. You didn't want to understand that you was going to have to get the strap one day. You didn't want to understand that because there's a war to fight, a war, a real battle. It didn't tell to prepare the Gentiles for a spiritual battle. No, it said prepare them for war. Why? You think that it's a spiritual battle that's going to take down Babylon? Really? Really? So we're going to pray down Babylon's downfall, and it's just going to fall all by itself. So the homes are going to get ravished all by themselves. All these things is just going to happen all by themselves because we speak in the word. Bro, stop it. Stop it, please. These things are going to take place because of the physicalities that come with this mission, this war. And I'm not letting up on it because I know who he called me here to be, dog. I know who he called me here to be. And I'm telling you, the battle is not for everybody, but for a lot of you, right? If you think you're going to be reigning with Christ, that means you still got to be here. You can't be perishing off for the lack of knowledge now, can you? How you going to reign 1,000 years when you didn't die? You're dead. You for the lack of knowledge. You wasn't fighting. You wasn't here. You wasn't here to do what Christ came to do. Was you with Christ when Christ said he was here to judge this earth? Did ye not know the saints will judge the earth? Why? Because they got Christ in them. Well, now you want to be a saint, but you ain't got Christ in you. You don't have no judgments in you. You don't have the physicalities part in you. This is why y'all constantly try to take it away, saying that they are the laws of Moses. No, they are the laws of God, the laws of Christ, because he holds the keys to the justification system. He always has and he always will. That's why it's called the day of Christ, when judgment comes. Now you look that up, and then you remind yourself what you're hearing right now and who I told you I've been talking to, which is the Spirit of God. Remember, the one that has the same testimony as Jesus. Why? Well, it'll tell you in Revelation chapter 2, when even Jesus hands over the power to someone else to get the keys over the nation and hold the power over the nations. Yeah, he handed it over. Revelation chapter 2. Read it and weep. Or shall I read it? Now, I'm going to let y'all do your homework a little bit on this, because I'm going to keep bringing it to you. If the more he keeps bringing this to my attention, because I know that y'all was told that it was Jesus, but then here's Jesus showing up, giving it over to someone else. The one with the eyes of flaming fire, the one that had the same testimony as Jesus. I wonder why he got the same testimony as Jesus. It's damn near like Jesus had handed him the job over. Revelation chapter 2, read it. It's almost at the very end. You're not going to sit here and tell me that I'm a liar when it's clearly right there in the book. Let me read it, because y'all don't know how to do your homework sometimes. Let me go ahead. Revelations chapter 2. Can't figure out which verse it actually was, but I want you to see this, because this is in red writing. So this came out the horse's mouth himself. Okay? Jesus. Your horse? This comes out of his mouth. Now listen. It says, Revelations chapter 2, verses 25. We'll start there. But that which ye have already hold fast till I come. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works until the end, to him I will give power over the nations. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter, they shall be broken in shivers, even as I received of my Father. And I will give him the morning star. Who will? Jesus will. Ain't that red writing? Can you read? Can y'all see colors too? Right? Red writing, right? So, the person who is ruling with the rod of iron that it speaks in Revelations 19, right? With the many crowns, the vesture dipped in blood, the eyes of flaming fire. Y'all still saying that's Jesus. Clearly, Jesus even just said it himself here. And I ain't never seen this either, but it was also pointed out to me to let you know he the one that handed it over. What did he hand over? He said, and he that overcometh and keepeth my works until the end, to him will I give power over the nations. Oh, but that just meant, and he shall rule them with a rod and iron. What was he doing with that rod of iron in Revelation, y'all? I thought we talked about that already. Man, it's the one that's judging Babylon. But y'all still think it's somebody else. Y'all can't read, or you just simply handicapped, my friend. And I mean that mentally. Spiritually handicapped, mentally handicapped, and that's why y'all gonna die for the lack of knowledge. Because y'all don't be listening. You really don't be listening. You'll still go off to somewhere else and say, oh, Jesus is coming back to destroy them. No, he's not. No, he is not. And you ain't found it in this word. But I done found 10 scriptures for you, showing you that it's not him, showing you from the horse's mouth himself, where he's giving that power over to the smug, and he's riding out and ruling them with a rod of iron, man. Who is? The one that y'all don't know? That only he knew his name? That's the one with the rod of iron, remember? So it ain't Jesus, because it's the one that got the same testimony as Jesus. And like I said, why would he have the same testimony as Jesus? Because y'all thought that was going to be Jesus' testimony. But it is, because he's the one that gave him the keys to do so. There it is. So y'all want to say anything more about that? I done gave you all the pieces to the puzzle to connect for yourselves. Now you can believe what you want to believe from now. And I'm going to continue to believe what this man done told me for 22 years, dog. Your boy about to go to war, and your boy going to start the fall of Babylon for real. So when it comes to my time and my day, I'm going to have fun. And I'm going to care less who's perishing for the lack of knowledge out here. And I ain't got to tell you I told you so. I told you now, but you didn't want to listen. So, until next time, it's your boy Don Calamity. Peace. My love.